They say pain changes people, and it does. But what they don't tell you is that pain introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. The parts that fight when you want to quit. The parts that whisper strength into silence. The parts that rise even when everything inside you says, stay down. Being affirmative is not about fake positivity. It's not about pretending that everything is fine when it clearly isn't. Being affirmative means choosing a higher perspective. Even when the ground beneath you feels like it's disappearing, you lose a friend, you lose an opportunity, your plans fall apart, and you start to believe that maybe, just maybe, life isn't on your side. But being affirmative means you still wake up and say, there's something here for me. It means you believe that the pain isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's sculpting you for something bigger. Think about it. Every great comeback story started with a breakdown. Every breakthrough came from a heart that refused to stay broken. And every person you admire didn't rise because life was easy. They rose because they refused to stay negative. Staying affirmative is the art of training your mind to see beyond the storm. To understand that life isn't against you, it's shaping you. When you stay affirmative, you stop fighting reality. You start flowing with it. You begin to say, this is not happening to me, it's happening for me. Your mindset becomes your mirror. When you focus on what's missing, you magnify your misery. But when you focus on what's possible, you magnify your power. Affirmation isn't just words, it's energy. It's the decision to rise with purpose even when pain pulls you down. So if you're in a season of struggle right now, pause and breathe. Remind yourself, this moment is not permanent. This pain is not forever, because pain has a secret. It carries within it the seed of power. And when you stay affirmative, you water that seed. You nurture it until it blooms into strength. You don't have to force life to make sense. You just have to stay open enough to trust that one day it will. So today, choose to stay affirmative, not because everything is perfect, but because your spirit is stronger than your circumstances. You've already survived everything that once felt impossible. That's proof of your power. Don't let pain make you bitter. Let it make you better. Don't let loss make you fearful. Let it make you focused. And don't let doubt silence your belief. Let it deepen your faith in yourself. Because in the end, staying affirmative is not about pretending to be okay. It's about choosing to become okay again and again. That's how pain turns into power. That's how you rise, quietly, gracefully, endlessly. Being affirmative is not pretending, it's perceiving pain as purpose. When you live long enough, you realize everyone carries something heavy. The smile you see on someone's face might be hiding sleepless nights, silent battles, and moments they thought they wouldn't make it through. But the difference between those who stay broken and those who rise again isn't luck, it's perception. It's how they choose to see their pain. Most people think being positive means acting like nothing hurts, like you're immune to struggle. But that's not real strength. Pretending everything is fine when your heart is bleeding only delays your healing. Being affirmative means you allow yourself to feel the pain, but you refuse to be defined by it. It's looking at your wounds and saying, this will teach me something. It's whispering to yourself, maybe this happened to wake me up, not break me. Imagine you lose your job. At first, it feels like the world has turned against you. Fear sets in, and the noise in your head says, you're not good enough. But being affirmative changes the script. Instead of asking, why me? You ask, what now? You start seeing that maybe you were being pushed out of comfort so you could step into calling. Maybe that rejection was just redirection, and suddenly pain becomes a teacher instead of a curse. Or think about heartbreak, the kind that leaves you shattered, unable to trust, unable to feel. The easy path is to close off, to build walls and blame everyone else. But being affirmative means saying, this heartbreak is showing me what love isn't, so I can recognize what love truly is. It's realizing that pain didn't come to destroy you. It came to shape your standards, refine your soul, and build your emotional strength. Every time you fall, the world will watch what you do next. Some people will expect you to quit, others will pity you, and a few might even enjoy your downfall. But you have a choice. You can either play the victim or play the student. You can either drown in self-pity or dive into self-discovery. And when you choose to see pain as purpose, something shifts. You begin to understand that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. There was once a man who spent years building his dream business. One day, a fire burned everything down. Years of effort gone. Everyone expected him to collapse. Instead, he said, "The fire didn't take my dream. It only cleared the ground so I can rebuild stronger." Months later, he built something twice as successful. That's affirmation in action, the ability to turn ashes into opportunity. When you stay affirmative, pain becomes fuel. It sharpens your focus. It strips away what's unnecessary. It forces you to grow. Think about how muscles grow. They tear before they strengthen. That's how the mind works too. Every disappointment stretches your capacity. Every loss deepens your wisdom. Every setback tests your spirit, and if you stay open, it builds resilience. You see, life will always test your belief in yourself. It will take away things you thought you couldn't live without, and it will wait to see if you can still say, "I'm enough without them." Being affirmative means you still find gratitude in the chaos. It means even when everything is uncertain, you trust that something meaningful is forming behind the scenes. You don't need to fake smiles or bury emotions. You just need to hold your ground in faith, in clarity, in quiet strength. Because when you shift your perception, pain stops being an enemy. It becomes the sculptor of your character, the voice that tells you you're becoming someone unstoppable. And the moment you realize that your pain has a purpose, you stop fearing it. You start respecting it. You start walking through life not as a victim of your past, but as a witness to your own transformation. That's the power of staying affirmative. That's the unseen strength that turns ordinary people into extraordinary souls. Every setback carries the seed of a comeback if you choose the right mindset. It's strange how life works. One day everything seems perfectly in place, the plans, the people, the path ahead, and then, without warning, everything falls apart. The promotion you were counting on slips away, the relationship you built your world around ends, or the dream you were chasing suddenly feels unreachable. In that silence after the storm, the mind starts whispering, maybe it's over. But here's the truth most people forget: nothing ends without teaching you something that can begin again. Setbacks don't destroy you, they introduce you to your depth. They reveal what you're made of when comfort disappears. When you lose something, it's easy to think the story is over, but it's only a chapter ending, not the book. What matters is not what happened, but how you decide to see it. That's where mindset comes in, because the same fire that burns one person can forge another. The same fall that breaks one soul can awaken another. Imagine a student who fails an exam after months of studying. The disappointment hits hard. Friends pass, parents are upset, and the mind screams, "You're not smart enough." That's a moment of decision, a crossroad. One path leads to self-doubt, the other to self-discipline. When the student chooses to see the failure not as a label, but as feedback, everything changes. They begin to study differently, think sharper, grow hungrier. And when they finally succeed, it's not just a grade. It's a comeback story born from a setback. Think about an athlete who gets injured right before the biggest tournament of their life. Months of preparation, gone in a single twist or fall. The pain isn't just physical, it's emotional. But that same pain becomes the reason they start understanding recovery, patience, and the value of mental strength. And when they return, they don't just come back to compete, they come back wiser, stronger, unbreakable. The truth is, life's rejections are often just redirections. Sometimes you're being delayed so you can be developed. Every time you think something is being taken away, it's actually being replaced with something that fits you better. When you choose the right mindset, you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can this build within me?" There's a woman who spent years trying to start a business. Every idea failed. Every investor said no. Friends started to doubt her, and part of her began to doubt herself. One night, while sitting alone, she realized the problem wasn't her ideas, it was her mindset. She was waiting for everything to be perfect before starting again. So she changed her approach. She launched something small, learned from every mistake, and within a year, her company took off. People called it luck, but she knew it was mindset. the decision to see failure as fertilizer, not poison. When you fall, the world often looks away. People rarely see the quiet nights when you pick yourself up. They only see the comeback and call it overnight success. But what they don't understand is that every comeback begins in darkness, in moments when no one's clapping, no one's believing, no one's helping. That's where mindset matters the most. Every setback holds a seed, but a seed only grows if you nurture it. The soil of pain, the rain of patience, the sunlight of belief, that's what makes it bloom. The right mindset doesn't erase pain, it transforms it. It whispers to you, this is not the end, this is the edge of something new. You can't control the waves of life, but you can control how you surf them. You can either drown in disappointment or ride it toward destiny. Because when you decide to see every fall as preparation for the rise, you stop fearing failure. You start understanding that setbacks are not signs of weakness, they're signs that you're being stretched for something greater. And once that realization sinks in, there's no force strong enough to keep you from your comeback. Affirmation transforms reaction into reflection and reflection into growth. It's one of the most powerful shifts a person can make in their entire life. Most people live their days reacting to what others say, to what happens around them, to what goes wrong. Someone criticizes them and they explode. Plans fail and they panic. One small problem and their whole mood collapses. They live like leaves in the wind, blown by every emotion, every opinion, every inconvenience. But when you start practicing affirmation, when you train your mind to stay centered no matter what happens, everything changes. Imagine you wake up one morning, already tired. You spill coffee on your shirt, get stuck in traffic, reach work late, and your boss scolds you in front of everyone. Most people's first reaction is anger, frustration, self-pity. The day feels ruined. But if you're living with affirmation, you take a breath instead of reacting. You tell yourself, this moment doesn't define my worth. I can handle this. And just like that, instead of the situation controlling you, you control the situation. That's what affirmation does. It gives you a pause between the trigger and your response. In that pause, you find power. You move from reacting impulsively to reflecting intentionally. You begin to ask, what is this trying to teach me? Why did this moment appear in my life? What can I learn from this? Suddenly, the world feels less like chaos and more like a classroom. There's a story of a man who lost his business overnight. Instead of drowning in anger, he spent a week reflecting. He realized he had built his business on weak partnerships and rushed decisions. That reflection became his foundation for success. 2 years later, he built another company, this time stronger and more stable. The loss didn't break him because he didn't react. He reflected. That's the quiet strength affirmation brings. Every reaction is a test of your emotional maturity. When you react, you hand your power to the problem. When you reflect, you take that power back, and that reflection turns pain into progress. Think about the times you've argued with someone, said words you didn't mean, and regretted them later. That regret only teaches one lesson. If you had paused to reflect, you could have saved the peace. Reflection protects your energy. It guards your focus. Affirmation is the voice that tells you you don't have to match anyone's chaos. When someone is rude to you, you can choose calmness. When plans fail, you can choose patience. When life feels unfair, you can choose understanding. Reflection becomes your silent weapon. It doesn't scream, it transforms. Growth doesn't come from avoiding pain, it comes from analyzing it. Every mistake you make carries a message. Every disappointment has a direction hidden inside it. Affirmation allows you to see that message clearly. You begin to notice how every storm you survived gave you wisdom you never had before. The pain that once made you cry now becomes the same pain that makes you wise. Imagine a woman who constantly reacted to life. Every rejection, every insult, every failure, she took it personally. She became bitter, defensive, tired. One day, she decided to stop running from herself. She started writing affirmations each morning. I am calm under pressure. I am learning from everything. I am growing every day. Those words slowly rewired her mind. Instead of reacting, she began observing. Instead of judging herself, she started understanding herself. And one day, she realized she had become someone she used to envy, peaceful, confident, grounded. That's the quiet magic of affirmation. It doesn't promise that life will stop hurting. It just teaches you to stop hurting yourself with your own reactions. It gives you clarity. It teaches you to turn chaos into awareness and awareness into growth. When you reflect instead of react, life stops feeling like a war and starts feeling like a journey. Reflection gives meaning to every challenge. It's what turns ordinary people into wise ones and pain into transformation. Pain introduces you to your strength if you stay open to the lesson. The truth is, nobody really teaches you how to handle pain. They tell you to move on, to be strong, to stay positive. But they don't tell you that sometimes strength isn't loud. Sometimes it's silent, trembling, and tired, yet still standing. Pain has a strange way of revealing who you are beneath all your layers. When life breaks your rhythm, it shows you the parts of yourself that comfort never could. Think about the times you were truly tested. Not the easy days, but the nights you couldn't sleep because your thoughts were too heavy. The days you had to smile when your heart was aching. The moments when you had no one to call, no one to lean on, and yet you made it through. That's the version of you pain introduces. Not the one that talks about strength, but the one that is strength. Pain strips away illusion. It removes the masks we wear, the distractions we hide behind. When everything falls apart, you're left face to face with your raw self. And that's when you discover you're not as fragile as you thought. You realize that the same storm that tried to drown you is teaching you how to breathe underwater. Imagine a person who loses everything they thought mattered. The job, the relationship, the dream. At first, they collapse. They cry, they question, they feel like their life is over. But slowly, in the silence that follows, they begin to notice something. They're still here. Their heart is still beating. Their spirit is still whispering, "Get up." And in that whisper lies strength, quiet, gentle, but unshakable. Pain teaches you patience. It teaches you empathy. It teaches you how to sit with yourself and listen. Really listen to your own soul. The people who have suffered and healed carry a different kind of light, one that doesn't shine to impress, but to guide. They walk through the world softer, but stronger. They don't panic in storms because they've already survived worse. Think about the seed that becomes a tree. It has to break open in the dark before it can grow. That breaking isn't the end, it's the beginning. Your pain works the same way. It cracks open your old self so something wiser can take its place. But you have to stay open. You have to resist the temptation to shut down, to numb yourself, to pretend it doesn't hurt. Because the moment you close off, the lesson dies inside the pain. There's a story of a boxer who lost his biggest match. His face bruised, his pride shattered. Everyone said he was finished. But instead of quitting, he watched every second of that fight again and again. Not to punish himself, but to understand where he went wrong. And in that reflection, he found his weakness and his will to rise. A year later, he returned and won the championship. His victory wasn't over his opponent, it was over his own limits. That's what pain does. It gives you a mirror and asks, who are you when nothing goes right? And if you dare to answer honestly, you'll meet a version of yourself you never knew existed, tougher, wiser, calmer. You'll see that strength isn't about never falling, it's about rising differently each time you do. Some people let pain turn them bitter, others let it turn them brave. The difference is openness. When you stay open, pain becomes a teacher instead of a thief. It teaches you what truly matters, who truly cares, and how deeply you can endure. It teaches you that healing isn't instant, it's earned. And maybe one day, when you look back, you'll realize the moments that hurt the most were the same ones that revealed your power. Because pain doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to introduce you to the real unbreakable you that was waiting underneath it all. Positivity fades, but affirmation endures because it's rooted in truth, not emotion. There's a huge difference between being positive and being affirmative, but most people never realize it until life gets hard. Positivity is like sunlight on a good day. It warms you. It makes you smile. It makes the world feel bright. But when the storm comes, when the sky turns dark and the winds start to hit you, that sunlight disappears. And in that darkness, what keeps you standing isn't surface-level optimism. It's the deep, quiet conviction that says, I will make it through this. That's affirmation. Positivity says, everything will be fine. Affirmation says, Even if it's not fine, I'll still find my strength. Positivity depends on how things look. Affirmation depends on what you believe. One fades when life stops smiling at you. The other grows stronger when life tests you. Imagine a person who wakes up one morning full of energy, ready to conquer the day. Everything goes smoothly, the job, the people, the plans. They're positive, confident, lighthearted. But then something goes wrong. A project fails, a friend betrays them, or their health starts to fall apart. Suddenly, all that positivity starts to crumble because it was built on comfort, not conviction. That's when affirmation steps in. It whispers, "This pain doesn't cancel your purpose." Affirmation isn't about pretending the darkness doesn't exist. It's about remembering your light still does. Real affirmation comes from truth, not from emotion. Emotions change every minute. One day you feel unstoppable, the next you can't even get out of bed. If your strength depends on how you feel, you'll be lost every time life changes direction. But when you live by affirmation, you move with truth, you remind yourself, I am capable, even when I feel broken. I am worthy, even when I feel unworthy. I am growing, even when it feels like I'm stuck. Positivity tells you to smile through the pain. Affirmation tells you to face it, feel it, and still believe in your power. One hides the wound, the other heals it. There's a woman who went through years of financial struggle. She used to write positive notes like, "Money will come soon," and wait. But nothing changed, and she started losing hope. One day, she stopped writing what she wished for and started writing what she believed in. She wrote, "I am learning how to manage what I have. I am becoming someone who attracts opportunity." Those weren't just words, they were affirmations rooted in truth. Within months, her mindset changed. She began to see possibilities where she used to see problems. That's the difference. Positivity dreams, affirmation builds. Emotion can deceive you. It can make you feel like everything is over when it's just beginning. It can make you think you're weak when you're only tired. Affirmation cuts through that noise. It grounds you in what's real. It says, I don't need to feel okay to know I'll be okay. Think about the ocean. Waves rise and fall, but the depth remains still. Your emotions are those waves. Affirmation is that depth. No matter how rough the surface gets, your truth stays calm underneath. When you live from that depth, no storm can take you away from yourself. Positivity fades because it relies on temporary feelings, moments of excitement, sparks of hope, but affirmation endures because it's anchored in who you are. It doesn't need proof to believe. It doesn't need comfort to stay strong. It's the silent promise you make to yourself when no one is watching, the one that says, no matter what happens, I won't give up on me. That's what makes affirmation timeless. It doesn't rise with good days or fall with bad ones. It lives in your truth, it breathes in your resilience, and it waits patiently for you to remember. Feelings pass, but who you are beneath them, that remains. Life will never promise you ease, but it will always promise you evolution. Every storm, every heartbreak, every silent night where you question your worth. Those moments aren't your endings, they are your awakenings. The world doesn't change when you pretend to be strong. It changes when you decide to be real, when you face your pain and say, I'm still here. I'm still learning. I'm still becoming. Because strength is not about never falling. It's about rising so quietly that even your scars start to shine. You see, the people who truly inspire others are not the ones who've lived easy lives. They're the ones who were broken and rebuilt themselves piece by piece. They're the ones who turned their pain into poetry, their fear into fuel, and their silence into strength. They learned that life doesn't reward comfort, it rewards courage. And the most courageous thing you can ever do is to keep believing when everything inside you says, stop. Every person you admire was once where you are. Confused, hurt, uncertain, tired, but they chose to keep walking. They chose to turn every why me into try me. They chose to stand tall even when the weight of the world was on their shoulders. And that's the beauty of the human spirit. It bends, but it doesn't break. It cries, but it doesn't quit. Remember this, your mind is your battlefield. What you feed it will grow. If you feed it fear, it will give you excuses. If you feed it faith, it will give you wings. So guard it, protect it, nurture it, because the voice you listen to becomes the life you live. When that inner voice starts whispering doubt, reminded of everything you've already survived, you didn't come this far to stop here. You didn't climb this high just to look down in fear. Life will keep testing you. It will throw challenges your way to see if your spirit still burns. But that's not punishment. That's proof that there's more in you. The fire in your life isn't there to destroy you, it's there to reveal you. It's there to show you that even in the darkest nights, your light can't be dimmed. Pain might visit, but it doesn't live here. Failure might delay you, but it doesn't define you. One day, you'll look back at this chapter and realize it was never about what you lost, but about what you found inside yourself. You'll see that all the delays, all the detours, all the disappointments were simply redirections to something better. Life doesn't take from you to break you. It takes to make space for what you truly deserve. Don't chase perfection, chase progression. Don't wait for the storm to pass. Learn how to dance in the rain. Because the goal was never to have an easy life. The goal was to build an unshakable you. Every time you choose peace over panic, courage over comfort, and growth over giving up, you are proving that the pain didn't win. So breathe deeply and remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the part of the story where everything starts to make sense. It's where the warrior in you wakes up. It's where strength replaces fear and gratitude replaces regret. The truth is, you are not behind, you are not broken. You are being prepared. The universe is aligning things for you that you can't yet see. And when it all unfolds, when the pieces fit, you'll understand why you had to go through what you did. You'll realize that your scars are not proof of pain. They're proof of victory. They're the map of your becoming. And when you rise, when you walk into the world with that quiet confidence that comes from surviving everything meant to destroy you, you'll understand that staying affirmative was never just a mindset. It was your rebirth. Because in the end, you didn't just survive the pain, you turned it into power.